Hi, this is Julie with Skunk Magazine, and I'm here with Tim Blake of the Emerald Cup. Tim, welcome. So happy to have you. It's a very exciting year. You're heading into the 15th annual Emerald Cup event. And Tim, Skunk Magazine and the Emerald Cup have a long history. I've been wanting to sit down with you for a while and talk about and have a moment to kind of discuss, this journey that you've gone on. And John Vergados, the editor at the magazine, you guys became brothers and friends. John came to the Mateel. He got the whole experience from you.
We wouldn't have done it without John.
And so tell everyone a little bit about that feeling of when you first met us and we first started to work together.
I met John and I really liked him. I was encouraged. He had an idea. He said, there's this show called Spanibus, and the Emerald Cup could be that. And I didn't know what Spanibus was. And I said, what is this thing Spanibus? And he goes, it's the biggest show of cannabis in the world. And I thought, we're Area 101, the Emerald Cup, the homeboys in the hood. What are you talking about? And he said, I'm telling you, we just need to get out. And so between John and Samantha, my ex-partner, girlfriend, they pried me out of Area 101 on the last year and got me to go to the Mateel Center, Community Center in Garberville. And that turned out to be our biggest show ever. I was really like a curmudgeon. They really had to pry me out of there. I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. Nobody's going to accept us. They'll hate us.
You just want to have your party with mushrooms and
I just want to do my
friends.
thing, man. It's like, and so we did it. And the Mateel, it blew up. I mean, there was a snowstorm, or we would have had several thousand people. I lost my videographer, one of my sound guys, my speakers. They couldn't get in. It was like, oh my God. But we still had a huge show.
Yeah.
And he said, this is what I'm talking about. And he said, we can really continue from here. And so that next year, we tried to go to the Humboldt Fairgrounds, and they wouldn't let us in. Mendocino wouldn't let us in. We can go to Sonoma. And John was really instrumental because he encouraged me, Tim, do it. I was like, if we leave the Triangle, nobody's ever going to forgive us. Forget Humboldt. They'll never forgive us. And he said, just trust me. This is going to be a really good thing. And you're going to really blow the cup up. And I look back now, and it's like, if it wasn't for John and Sam really that year, I probably wouldn't have done it. And really gone. But we took that leap. We went to Sonoma, and of course, it was 8,000 people. The next year, 14, 22, then 30,000. And John would have been there all the way through with us, except for that really unfortunate experience of getting busted for those seeds and distribution and whatnot. And having been arrested at that level, it wipes you out. You can no longer be with your friends anymore because you can't be around cannabis, you can't smoke, you can't even be secondhand smoker. You'll fail a piss test. You can't do anything, you're on probation, you lose all your money. It wipes you out. Anybody that's gone through an arrest, and then if it takes 2 or 3 years, all the legal fees, you're not making income, you're depressed, you lose your way.
They decimate you.
They strip you down to
it's
nothing.
It's a mortal wound.
Oh yeah, And then people say, well, you didn't really do anything. Well, I was talking to Granddaddy Mike. Well, yeah, they haven't done anything, but he's been on a federal pinch for 5 years, so he hasn't been able to do anything. He's been basically on probation for 5 years.
Absolutely.
Well, how long was it for John?
It's a noose around your neck. It was 5 years that the case raged on, and now he has to do 6 months house arrest with only 3 hours a week of outside time. And this is after hundreds of thousands of dollars have been dumped into this case. Meanwhile, all he was doing was seed trade to power the magazine and do the activism and help bring those stories out to the people. That was the whole focus. It wasn't about necessarily making millions of dollars on seeds, but and that's not bad either. And I kind of want to touch on this, that you guys have become a world-class show. You guys really are at the level of Spanibus. I've gone to Spanibus 9 times. And Spanibus is one of the best European shows, one of the best shows in the world. And you guys are completely at that level, and the only ones that are organic and sustainable in what I like to call green renaissance. And so I wanted to touch on that a little bit, that, last year when I was at the Emerald Cup, as I walked around, I kept remarking about, 5 years ago, I said, the green rush statement, that term is insulting. It's a term we shouldn't use. Those of us that are craft makers, we should not use that term. For me, it's like, this is blood money. This is a drug war. And with you guys, you guys kind of, for me, are the living embodiment of what I like to say is the green renaissance. And to me, cannabis is really wanting humanity to evolve. It's the plant that's guiding humanity to evolve. And you're really keyed into this. You really do respect plant allies and plant medicine, aside from cannabis. You have a lot of respect for, I believe, this idea of a renaissance happening on the planet. And so I wanted to, touch on that a little bit, because maybe you don't get to talk about it as much. And then, of course, I want to go to what's going to come up this year. But first, can you touch a little bit on, what's closest to your heart with this idea of a renaissance on the planet, and how you guys are kind of showing evidence everywhere of, like, here's a garden, here's living soil, here's the regenerative method.
There was a book called The Secret Life of Plants that came out about 30 years ago, and it did a demonstration where you could take a plant and then put another plant like 6 offices down and then hurt the one plant, and the other plant would register electrical activity and stuff. And they proved that they could feel and think across space, and it really opened me up to just how intelligent and interactive not only cannabis plants, but all plants, all living sentient things that have energy. And so I've always had a reverence for cannabis, because I realize she is working on all of us. She was brought here in a sacred way to teach us and to guide us and bring us back. And what was really happening here was, I grew up in the 70s. We were about to cross over into a different way of living. The 60s came in, the psychedelics came in, the cannabis came in, and we were rocking. And Age of Aquarius. And I'll tell you what, they realized it wasn't going to go well for them, and so they came up with crank, speed, and all the cheap cocaine and all the heroin, and they sided all the pharmaceuticals, and they said, this isn't going to work. And I remember when we were sitting there in the mid-'80s, and a friend of mine came to me and said he had the best cannabis I'd ever seen, and he said, you see this? We're going to be growing it under those lights you see in a Safeway in a year and a half from now, because they're going to bust all the loads. And I was like, you're out of your mind. I go, we're going to grow under lights in a Safeway because they're going to bust all the loads. I got 1,000 pounds in my backyard right now, some Thai. And this was a major player too. And he said, no, the generals have said they're going to take all the loads out. Well, in the next 18 months, they busted 12 major cannabis loads on the West Coast. And cocaine went from being something that the privileged or the high-end Hollywood people would get for $100 a gram to where it was $10 a gram. So you could get cheap cocaine in Oakland or in the inner cities, but you couldn't get any cannabis. And they just turned it upside down so quickly that they wiped it out. So all of us oldsters have been fighting that for 30 years, but they pruned that plant back, but they couldn't kill that root. And it just came back bigger. Yeah. And so the renaissance we're having is the same thing with psychedelics. I'm reading Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, and it's like, you really see this. It's like they did the same thing with psychedelic research. They just sidelined it, turned acid into a scary thing. We're all going to freak out. We're going to end up in hospitals, and that's not what was happening. Yeah. And so the psychedelics are coming back. The cannabis is taking its rightful place. Sure. The way we interact with the earth in a sustainable, organic, living way. We were never meant, people throughout society, throughout cultures, thousands of years, never butchered their land or their communities and polluted everything. They didn't do that because they had to live there. They thought about their Native American thing. Think 7 generations down the road. Our kids and kids are going to be here. We lost that, and it was part of that whole thing of like, how do we toxify this planet and bring people down to such a dumb level they can't fight so that we can control them. And it wasn't about thriving. And so the renaissance that we're talking about is we're going into thriving again. Yes. And there's nothing they can do about it.
No.
It's like, it's
and
out of their control.
And you're bringing the sacred back. You're literally what they took away, which is who we are as stewards, as planet protectors. Because when we protect the planet, we have everything we need. The fruit trees are going, the bees are buzzing, the honey's being made. We have everything we need when we learn that we are protectors. Yeah. And that's what I feel is so important, and it's often lost in who's cool and who won the cup and who's this and that and who's the master grower. And I don't even care, because she's the master. Mm-hmm. She's the one that's trying to say, hey, wake up, bring the sacred back. And that's what I appreciate about, what you're doing with the Emerald Cup and your whole team, is that you're showing in various ways what is most sacred with art and music and culture and not just the cannabis itself. All of the things go together.
It's interesting because the cup, I was talking to my kid because we were charging more each year, and I always wanted the cup to be for anybody to enter so everybody had a chance to win. It was for the everyday person and cultivator. And now it's changing. It's like really, it's like most wine competitions or any other kind of competition. It really does matter for that brand. It's become a very serious thing, and there's really a major competition going on. And I realized that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, cannabis has become a big business. It's all right to incorporate that in there because it really means that for the people. But for me, I started out with the Emerald Cup. It was a friendly competition, but it was really about honoring outdoor, or from the very beginning, outdoor, organically grown cannabis. You know, and so that's what we were teaching people. That's what we were getting together for.
And what's great about that, Tim, is that you're showing sacred wealth. Because I think a lot of times, you know, when we talk about green rush, it's not the money that's bad. It's what's being done with the money. If money's being made and it's hurting others, or if money's being made in a way that is it's leaving a large portion of the community out, then that's not sacred wealth. But wealth that's made, say, you're not polluting your soils, you're not harming your waterways, you're enriching your community. To me, this is sacred wealth, and to me, that's what we want to show. It's not that we can't make money, we must, but it's like, how are we making money? And I feel like because your show now has turned into the B2B event of the year for, you know, North America, and obviously all of the European partners are coming. You're showing B2B with sacred wealth, with the tenets of organics, with the tenets of sustainability. So I, for one, really extremely appreciate. I extremely appreciate. I don't care about the wars and who's fighting who and who has, you know, whatever. I try not to get involved with any of that. What I try and understand is that this platform, if we didn't have it, what would this landscape be like? What would it be like if we didn't have a platform that helped us all do organic, sustainable B2B that supports our businesses for the year? I, for one, actually appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You know,
It's really been an honor.
and so tell us a little bit about what this year is going to look like so that everybody is ready and do they understand, like, how have you had to navigate, how have the laws affected you with Prop 64? So could you tell everyone a little bit about that?
It's been very challenging. We decided not to do multiple shows this year because we wanted to get the regs in place and work with everybody and make sure we got it right. Our competitors took the opposite. They wanted to get all the market share, do all the shows, and screw them all up, and that's what they did. We went in different directions. We've been working with the lobbyists, a Main Street group, and the whole year we've gone to every BCC meeting to lobby for events. And we've worked really well with the BCC hand in hand. The cannabis industry, the Emerald Cup is a consumption event. So if you can't sample there, what are you doing there? It's the same thing. So that's been the big thing of how do you do this, because you got to pay for everything and get rid of it all. So we've had to work it out so we can have distributors right behind the tent so they don't have to bring much material in, so there's no throwing anything away. And we've had to work it out so you can get a flight card so that maybe you'll come in and you'll pay $2. And that'll give you the ability to go to booths and get sampling, so that the booth will still have to pay a minimal excise tax so they can at least say they did something, but at the same time, everybody gets to sample. So we've really gone to great lengths to keep it in the same framework where people can come, they can participate in everything, they can sample everything, they can buy everything, and they can feel like they're part of it.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really massive puzzle to put together to make that work. We spent a lot of time on that. And then the secondary part of it is we added another $1 million to the show last year. We're adding another $500,000 this year to really even further enrich that experience when people come in. So every aspect,
the flooring
shows.
last year
Yeah.
and all the different areas. I mean, I told you, I know you remember, I told you that you were really, it seemed like what your dream was to bring all those fun things that you had at Area 101 and the sense of community and coming together. You wanted to keep infusing it back in as it got bigger. And a lot of things that get bigger, they keep losing their original sacred energy. And it seems like, you're really conscientious of keep bringing it back to those little magical things.
You know what? No, we haven't even started. That's a great point. When Spike, our production manager, came up to my place, wanted to spend a couple days, and he came up and he hadn't seen it. And he comes up and there's a marble Christ full size and a 1,500-pound Ganesh and a 6,000-pound Buddha and the murals. And he's like, why isn't this in the cup? What are we missing here? And I said, because when we went to Sonoma, it was like, look, we're already being radical enough just bringing cannabis in. If you start bringing Ganesh and Shiva and everybody down, it's like, we may just freak these people out. So let's just start slow. So we're actually just bringing in the elements that were always there that we had to be a little bit conservative with because of the nature of where we were. So we're bringing that spirituality in. We're bringing the psychedelic nature in. With the cup, it used to be Survivor's Breakfast. Yeah. Everybody knew that we started doing psychedelics at midnight, and anybody that was still awake at 6 in the morning got a gourmet breakfast cooked by really amazing chefs. I mean, we did a thing with heavyweight dub. We did that, and they came in and they realized that, well, they weren't going to play because we got them on so late. I used to screw all our productions up. So the headliner was supposed to go on at 11. There's like 2:30 in the morning. They're like, we're not playing. And I'm like, look, man, you don't realize there are people still here. We're all on psychedelics now. We want to play with you. So you come in and look, and they open the door and they saw 200 or 300 people, and they're like, oh, fuck it, give us some drugs. And then we all did drugs together, and well, not drugs, it was psychedelics actually, not drugs. So we did some psychedelics, and they played until dawn, and then I went out and got this Survivor's Breakfast and came out, and they saw it, and we're like, can we have one of those? And I was like, no, come around the corner, and everybody got to see, and so we sat out there in the sunrise eating breakfast together.
That'll be a part of your VIP package one day.
Sunrise,
it was fun. Survivor's Breakfast.
But so the psychedelics were always part of the Emerald Cup, and so was the spirituality, along with the organic nature. We're bringing those back, and we're not quite ready to do the psychedelics at midnight thing because actually if we could do a big research project with Michael and Rick Doblin and stuff, it might be a wonderful thing to try, but maybe a couple years from now. No, well, that's what I'm saying. We're going to bring Doblin's coming in this year, Rick Doblin, and we're trying to get Michael Pollan to come in because I really want to talk about that because really cannabis is a gateway, not a drug, but it's a gateway herb, and it goes right into psychedelics.
I was sitting with Swami and Nikki, and we were talking about how it's the gateway to higher consciousness.
Yeah, well, that's what psychedelics are.
Yeah.
They open up that higher consciousness.
Absolutely.
And to meditation. I've been meditating for 45 years.
Well, Terrence McKenna, you know, I've listened to thousands of hours of his work, and you are very synchronistic in how you kind of flow with his teachings as well, you know, and who knows, like you said, I appreciate the fact that you offered it in a way that people could maybe be exposed to it, but they wouldn't go all the way in until they were ready. Because you've gone all the way in, but nobody really knows that. And we don't have to go there now either. I mean, I want to finish up with you. I'd love for you to have a chance to say a little bit about the musical alignment or lineup and anything else that you kind of want to touch on with the Cup this year and invite people to come out. Skunk is going to be covering everything that's coming up with the Emerald Cup online, and also Tim will be writing something for that issue.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that Skunk issue will be at the Emerald Cup this year.
It would be nice to have you guys.
So tell us, like, which music can people look forward to seeing? And
we have Go-Go Bordello, you know, Gypsy Rock coming in for Saturday night. We got Big Gigantic and Sound Tribe Sector 9 coming in for Sunday. Awesome. So it's going to be a real psychedelic thing. We got Margot Price coming in to play after the award ceremony. We have somebody that we want to come and honor. I shouldn't say it on this yet because if it doesn't happen, then we'll be in trouble. But we have somebody who's very special that we'd like to come in and join us this year. We're really close. I think we're going to be able to announce that.
Okay, I'll put good juju on it.
But we've got Rising Appalachia, and we've got the Funky Meters. I mean, the second line acts now are like headliners.
Absolutely.
And I look at it. I mean, the full budget for the Cup when I first went to Santa Rosa was $440,000, and our musical budget this year is almost $600,000. You know, the budget's like over $3 million, so it's like it just blows my mind what we're bringing in.
And so I forgot to mention Taylor Blake. Congratulations on your marriage to Shiloh.
Shiloh Massive, the Blake Massive collaboration.
Congratulations, proud papa moment. You look
I am very proud.
Amazing. The whole family was like glowing in love. And
you know
Taylor's so beautiful.
She is so beautiful,
bride,
and she's
Shiloh,
such a good person.
She's such a kind
and she deserves to be really loved and cherished, and you can see that with Shiloh. He does.
Yes.
He has that.
He really treasures
He loves her. You know, he's a little older, and he's got a lot of maturity and come in, and he's just got so much wisdom himself, and I'm really honored to have him as it's funny, he calls me dad, and we laugh about it and stuff. And I really love Shiloh. It's been great. The whole third gen family in Dying Breed Seeds, all of them, Dallas and Brandon, and you know especially Mel. Mel in there. Mel gonna have a baby,
another incredible woman.
and his father, and you know you got Chief.
And
all
your
of,
Phoebe.
Yeah, and Phoebe, of course. But they're all
Shout out
such
to Phoebe,
they're all
we
such
love
great people. So that's really a lot of fun. People are going to be very surprised at how many little things we have in store for them at the Cup this year. We've really gone all out, and this will be the last year. It's only at the Sonoma Fairgrounds because we'll move out from here, and we want to go to Canada. I've been dreaming of. We have offers to go to Canada, and I've been thinking that to bring. No, we're going to, and one of our partners is going to really help that, and I really want to honor John at that when we can go to Canada and bring him in.
Thinking of you.
And we're thinking of you, John. And I'll tell you what, I have nothing but respect. I know what you did for this community and what you laid down, what you contributed. You never wavered. You know, we talked about it out there. There's very few people that have integrity, and you have integrity. You never wavered from that, and you know, you pulled Julie in so she could help you go through that difficult time, and now you guys are coming out of that, and we've got to restore your vigor, your life, your dreams and inspiration, and you got a wonderful partner here that's going to help Skunk come back to life, and we're going to do everything we can because I chose Skunk because they were heads and tail above every other magazine, and back then there weren't that many. You know, now it's my golly, you see like there's 40 magazines out there, but back then, you know, Skunk was it. You know, High Times and Skunk, and Skunk blew High Times away, still does. So, although I shouldn't be saying that probably on air.
But thank you.
On air, but you know, that's the way I feel. Okay, that's just
well, we are the only cannabis magazine devoted to organics and sustainability, and that's why I first fell in love with John as a humanitarian and as somebody who has helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people grow organically around the world. And it's the same reason I have respect for you. So. And
you know what, John? I made you a promise when we started. When this got done, you could come into that genetics company and be part of us again. And I didn't forget that promise.
Well, we're going to make a seed bank.
I know, and we're going to.
Let me talk to you.
This is going to be worth a lot of money, and you're going to get part of it and come in there and be with us because I'm taking care of all my.
I cannot wait to talk to you off video.
Yeah. Oh no.
Thank you so much for coming and hanging with us for a moment. We'll see you at the Emerald Cup. It's going to be an incredible show this year, the 15th annual. Tim and Taylor Blake, thank you so much for all you do for this community.
See you there.